Live from Liverpool, The Dark Paranormal, Season 21. Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Season 21 finale of The Dark Paranormal. And yes, I say this each and every season, but it genuinely, this season, feels like I've never meant it more before. This season has literally gone so fast it feels like 3 or 4 weeks as opposed to 10 weeks. And that is all down to the wonderful experiences that you guys have sent in. Now, of course, we've already got our submissions ready for Season 22, but as you guys know, this is a very fluid podcast. Meaning if the right experience comes in, we will find room for it on that season. So, although I'm saying we have the experiences set in, do not let that stop you from submitting your experience for Season 22. Plus, of course, we accept submissions of all sizes for our various episodes. So, either click the link in the show notes or go direct to thedarkparanormal.com and click on Submit My Experience. Now, today's finale features something that I have never heard described before, and it's a very small something, but I think you'll know it when we get to it, because when I read it, it sent a chill right down my spine. Also, it deals with things we have discussed previously on the podcast, but I just thought this was a fitting way to end Season 21, and I hope you agree. Season 22, of course, will be very different. We're looking to bring back the video element of Dark Realms, and of course, we're not going to be reading Patreon names out. We will be saying thank you, of course, to our newest members. However, given feedback from you guys, we have amended that so that we can get to the experiences quicker, which was one of the biggest issues when we received our feedback. And as ever, this is your show, and any suggestions that we receive that are logical and make perfect sense, we will enact on your behalf. And so, for the very last time on The Dark Paranormal, an extra special thank you to our latest team members over on Patreon. And they are Noah Haskins, Steve P, Jenny, Kylie Rogers, William Tony, Myron Owen, Howard Grimshaw, Ash Goodwin, Greg T, Zane Corbett, TK, Ellie and Enzo, Michelle Bell, Gail Darlington Shaw, Beck Stone, JD, Kim Stewart, Maria Briggs, Dave Bryant, Angela Rourke, Mary Quigley, Dolores, Erica Keaton, Aveen Colleen and Julie. Thank you so much, guys, for being Patrons and for being our final names read on The Dark Paranormal. That doesn't mean the Patreon is going anywhere. It just means we're becoming a more tight-knit community, and we are still, of course, accepting patrons. Now is the perfect time to become one of our patrons, as we have a free week trial at the highest tier available on our Patreon by just clicking the link in the show notes. Now, of course, after this episode, we take our standard 3-week break, meaning we return on the 3rd week, which is fittingly Halloween itself and a great time to kickstart Season 22. However, for our Patreons, The Dark Paranormal does not stop, as they receive an all-year-round, Patreon-only podcast, Dark Bites, which releases each and every Sunday of the year without fail, 52 weeks a year, and it contains those shorter experiences that we receive that are either too short for a full episode or slightly longer than a minisode. So if you don't want to miss your Dark Paranormal fix, plus gain early access to the debut of Season 22 and anything on the main feed, both early and ad-free, head over to patreon.com/The Dark Paranormal. But right now, and for the final time this season, please lower the lights, make yourself comfortable, and most importantly, leave your disbelief at the door, as we hear all about The Dark Threshold. Hey Kevin, I'm not sure how to start this, but I think I've opened something I can't close. I've listened to your podcast for years now. It's been my comfort show during late night shifts and insomnia nights. And I never thought I'd be writing to you. But I just don't know who else would understand what's happening to me. My name is Alex, I'm 28, and I think I've made a mistake. One I can't undo. I should probably start by saying I've always been a bit of a goth. Not just aesthetically, though yes, everything I wear is black, silver jewellery, the works. But I've always been drawn to the darker side of things. Ghost stories, occult history, cemetery photography. My friends joke that I was born on Halloween. I wasn't, it was close enough, November the 2nd. The thing is, I've also always felt things, seen things, since I was maybe 4 or 5 years old. My earliest clear memory is standing in my childhood bedroom doorway, watching a woman in a long dress walk through my closet. She didn't open the door. She walked through the door. I wasn't exactly scared, more curious. When I told my mum, she did that thing parents do where they smile, but their eyes are worried, telling me I had an overactive imagination. And I learned pretty quickly to not talk about what I saw. But that didn't stop me seeing things. Throughout my childhood, I'd catch shadows moving. I'd see figures standing in corners that disappeared when I'd look at them. I learned to live with it, learned to pretend I didn't notice these things. But by the time I was a teenager, I'd leaned into it, reading everything I could about the paranormal, learning protection methods, understanding what I was experiencing. Knowledge felt like power. Like perhaps if I understood it, I could even control it. The weird thing is, for most of my adult life, the experiences actually calmed down. I moved out around 19, I went to college, worked various jobs, and I'd still get feelings sometimes. That prickle on the back of your neck, the sense of being watched. But there was never anything major. I started to think maybe I'd just been an anxious kid with an overactive imagination after all. And then I moved to Olympia, Washington, last October. I'd got this job as a night auditor at a small hotel. And I needed to furnish my studio apartment cheap. You know how this stuff goes. Thrift stores, yard sales, Facebook Marketplace. I'm not picky about second-hand stuff. I never have been, and being a goth, most of my clothes come from thrift stores anyway, without trying to generalize. And I like the idea of giving old things new life. Anyway, there was an estate sale about 2 weeks after I'd moved in one of those old craftsman houses near the capital. The ad outside said everything must go, usually meaning very good deals. So I showed up very early on a Saturday morning, and the house was packed, both with people and things. Dark wood furniture boxes, boxes of books, old photographs. The kind of place that made my goth heart happy. And that's when I saw the mirror. It was a trifold dresser mirror. You know, the kind with a large centre mirror, 2 smaller side panels that angle forward. The frame was dark wood, almost black, with these intricate carvings along the edges, vines and flowers, but also faces hidden in the detail if you looked. That kind of thing probably cost a fortune when it was made, but it was priced at just $35 because people don't want old furniture anymore. Well, I didn't hesitate. I paid cash, I loaded it carefully into my car, and I drove home very slowly. The mirror looked perfect on my dresser, right across from my bed. The carvings caught the light beautifully, and it was exactly the aesthetic I'd been going for in my little studio. Gothic, but not OTT. Elegant. I took a photo and I posted it online, and I got the usual comments about how it suited me and my look. The first weird thing happened about 3 days later. I woke up for my shift and I went to get dressed. And both side mirrors were angled directly at each other. Not just turned slightly inwards the way they're meant to. They were pointed straight at each other, creating that infinite reflection thing. You know what I mean, where you can see the reflection of a reflection of a reflection going on forever? I fixed that immediately. I've read and heard enough about the paranormal to know it's supposedly a bad idea to have two facing mirrors. Apparently they can create some sort of portal, or at least that's what I've read and heard. I figured I must have bumped into them whilst half asleep getting ready for work the night before. But then it happened again. And again. I'd fix those angles in the morning, and by the time I came home from my night shift, they'd be facing each other again. Sometimes I'd wake up in the middle of the afternoon. I sleep during the day because of my schedule. And I'd see them like that across the room. Every single time I'd get up to fix them, trying to convince myself I must be somehow forgetting that I'd moved them, or that the mirror just wasn't level and they were sliding somehow, they would always seem to prove me wrong. They weren't sliding, the hinges were tight, and I started to notice I was always fixing them at exactly the same angle. After some tests with golf balls, etc., to see if there was maybe a slight slant, and there wasn't, I realised the issue wasn't physics. These weren't drifting or sliding mirrors, they were being positioned precisely. And when I noticed that, that's when other things started. Small things at first. I'd come home and find cabinet doors open in my little kitchenette. My books would be rearranged on the shelf, not knocked out or fallen over, just reorganised, like someone had been looking through them. My silver jewellery would be moved from my dresser to the bathroom counter. The kind of things that you could explain away if you really tried hard enough. Maybe I'd left the cabinet open. Maybe I'd moved the books and forgotten. But then I started feeling it. You know that feeling when someone stood behind you? Even if you can't see them, you can't hear them, you just know they're there? I started getting that constantly in my apartment, especially near the mirror. I'd be there getting dressed and I'd feel eyes on me. I'd glance at the mirror's reflection, and just for a split second I would see something. A shadow that wouldn't match anything in the room. A flicker of movement. I'd try to tell myself it was because I was working nights. My sleep schedule was very messed up. I was overly tired, therefore I was seeing things that weren't there. But the feeling kept getting stronger. One of my best friends, Jenna, came over about a month after I'd moved in. She's not into the paranormal stuff at all. She's a nurse, very practical, very skeptical. But within 10 minutes of being in my apartment, she got weird. I could tell. Although she was nodding along, her mind was elsewhere. And then she finally says, "Is someone else here with you?" I'd been trying so hard not to say anything about what I'd experienced. Not to be the weird girl who sees ghosts again. But hearing her say it made something in my chest loosen. No, why? She continually looked around before forcing a smile and saying, "Oh, you'll think I'm nuts, but I think, no, I feel someone's here, watching. You know, like that feeling you get when you know someone's about to jump out. Can't you feel it?" Well, I debated how to answer this, but I just went with complete honesty. "Yeah," I nodded, "constantly. And I think it's something to do with this." I led her to my bedroom and I gestured at the dresser. "The mirror," she said. I nodded. She looked over at the mirror. "That's nice. Is it new?" "Estate sale." "Huh," she said, walking closer to it. She ran her fingers over the carvings. "It's beautiful, but..." Again, she trailed off and shook her head. "I'm going to sound like a lunatic again, but I don't like it. It feels kind of wrong." That was all the validation I needed. I told her everything. The mirrors moving, the rearranged objects, the feeling of being watched. and she believed me, which meant more than I can say. She mentioned I should find out where it came from, if it has any history. I agreed it was a great idea. I walked her to the door and we called it a night. And as I was walking behind her, something happened that I've never been so freaked out by before. I was directly behind her as she walked to get her coat from the stand by the door. And I slowly noticed her long hair starting to rise. But it started at the top back of her head, raising until it was horizontal. Then from the shoulders, in a perfect shoulder shape, before dropping down again. It was as if she'd just walked through someone who became solid the moment her body passed through them. I froze, watching her hair settle back down on her back. She reached for her coat, completely unaware of what had just taken place. My mouth was dry. Should I tell her? Would that make something worse? I decided to say nothing. She was already creeped out enough and I didn't want to terrify her. But I knew what I'd seen. Something had been standing between us, invisible until her body had moved through its space. Let's have a quick break to talk about those wonderful people at Happy Mammoth. You'll have heard me talking previously about Hormone Harmony, the supplement that helps women maintain optimal hormone levels, with over 50,000 glowing reviews from women worldwide, and 98% saying they'd recommend it to friends and family. Well, now you can take those results even further by pairing it with their prebiotic collagen protein, which helps restore gut lining integrity, promoting overall hormonal balance. It helps to relieve occasional bloating or gas, reduce sugar cravings, and help you feel satisfied longer. It helps support healthy, sustainable weight management, boost energy, and help stabilize mood swings. Because your gut directly affects your hormones, improving your gut health can amplify your hormone harmony results, so you can feel like yourself again. A friend of mine was struggling with occasional digestive issues and brain fog, and since adding prebiotic collagen protein, she's noticed a real lift in her energy and overall well-being. Happy Mammoth is dedicated to making women's lives easier, and that means using only science-backed ingredients that have been proven to work for women. They make no compromise when it comes to quality, and it shows. And right now, you can try prebiotic collagen protein and hormone harmony risk-free and get 15% off your entire first order with code DARKParanormal at checkout. That's happymammoth.com and use code DARKParanormal for 15% off today. Personally, I can find it really hard to focus, and as a non-drinker, I can also find it tricky to try and wind down. And how you go about finding your personal vibe is your individual choice. Do you know there's a 100% American farm-grown online cannabis company that ships federally legal THC direct to your door? And they found a way to combine THC with carefully selected functional ingredients so they can target nearly every mood and health concern you can think of. I'm talking about Mood.com's incredible line of functional gummies. And our listeners get 20% off their first order at Mood.com with the promo code DARKParanormal. Forget one-size-fits-all supplements that just get you high. Mood gummies are optimized so it can take as little as 15 minutes to take you to the mood you desire, like the Mind Magic gummies for creativity and focus, or PMS support to ease cramps and balance mood swings. And there's a plethora of other gummies for you to find your perfect mood. These days we all know gummies just to get high can be bought from just about anywhere, but Mood have changed the game by combining premium federally legal THC with targeted botanicals to help you get in the perfect mood in as little as 15 minutes with no dispensary lines or no awkward conversations, just better days and nights delivered discreetly to your door. Best of all, not only is every mood product backed by a 100-day satisfaction guarantee, as mentioned, our listeners can get 20% off their first order by entering the promo code DARKParanormal. So go to Mood.com and find the functional gummy that matches exactly what you're looking for, and let Mood find your perfect mood. And don't forget to enter the promo code DARKParanormal for 20% off. The very next day, I drove back to the house where the estate sale had been. There was a different car in the driveway, but I figured it was worth a shot. A woman in her 50s, I'd guess, answered, and I recognized her from the sale. "Hi," I said. I bought something at your estate sale a few weeks ago. Do you have a few moments to talk about it?" She smiled, friendly and open. "Yeah." And if you don't like it, just bring it back. We were just making space. Honestly, I won't be offended. And I'll give you your money back, of course. Oh, it's not that I don't like it, I said carefully. I just need to find some more information about it, if possible. Okay. What was it? It was the wooden trifold dresser mirror. The one with the carved frame? Well, her smile disappeared. Not gradually. It just dropped from her face like I'd flipped a switch. Her whole posture changed, shoulders tense. All sales are final, I'm afraid, she said flatly. No, I'm not trying to return it. You could give it to a friend, she interrupted, her voice suddenly now urgent. Or donate it, but all sales are final, I'm afraid. She's now closing the screen door between us. Then she stopped. She looked me dead in the eye, and her expression was something I still can't quite describe. Part fear, part warning. It was like that face you see on TV programs when somebody's talking to the police at the door and a criminal is hiding behind the door telling them what to say. Just don't put it in the trash, she said. Why not? She forced a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Oh, it's just too nice for that, don't you agree? Before I could agree, she'd closed the door in my face. I stood there on her porch for a solid minute, my heart pounding. Because that wasn't about the mirror being valuable. That was a warning. Don't put it in the trash. It was a warning, but it was a warning I didn't understand. When I got back to my apartment, both side mirrors are again facing each other. Again, I fixed them, and this time I take a photo on my phone with a timestamp. I wanted proof that I'd set them correctly. 4 hours later, an alarm goes on my phone to go and check. I do so, and they're facing each other again. I pulled up the photo to make sure I hadn't left them like that in the first place, and of course I hadn't. But I zoomed into the photo, because I took it from the side, and I could see this eternal reflection. And within that reflection, I could see something, barely visible in the infinite tunnel. There was something dark, a shape, too blurry to make out any details, but it was there in the photo. And it definitely wasn't there when I'd taken it. That night, at work, I just couldn't concentrate. I kept thinking about that shape. I kept looking at that shape. I kept thinking about the woman's warning, about Jenna saying the mirror felt wrong. I got home around 7 a.m., exhausted, and I found every single cabinet and drawer in my studio apartment was open. Not cracked open, wide open, as if someone had been frantically searching for something. And of course, the mirror's side panels were once again facing each other. I fixed those mirrors, I closed all of the cabinets and drawers, and I burnt some sage. I'd bought some a few months back, shortly after moving in, just to cleanse the new space, without any knowledge of what I would soon bring into the place. So I walked through my studio, waving the smoke into corners, saying protection prayers I'd learnt years ago, and my apartment's so small it only took a few moments. Afterwards, there was genuinely a feeling of serenity and calm. Something, and I know it's cliché to say, but something lifted. I went a good few weeks, months even, without anything weird at all. And then one day I return from work and find that the mirror is angled to face the doorway. So I reached for my sage once more. As I finished, I felt something shift. An oppressive weight that had been building lifted, slightly. Like a pressure valve releasing and then closing. I actually laughed at the fact this seemed to have worked slightly. And slightly is the right word, as the relief lasted around 12 hours. I woke up to a crash, something hitting the floor. I shot out of bed, heart hammering, and saw that every single item on my dresser, jewellery boxes, makeup, books, had all been swept onto the floor. Not fallen, swept. like someone had angrily used their arm to clear the entire surface in one go. The mirror sat there, untouched, side panels facing each other, despite items on either side of it now laying broken on the floor. I picked up my broken jewelry box and I found 3 of my silver rings. Bent. Not broken, bent. As if someone had twisted them with force. Tiny circles of silver like a ring do not bend by mere human force. It would take a machine or tools at least, not a simple fall from a dresser. I called Jenna and she came over immediately. She took one look at my face and said, "We're going to get rid of that mirror." She helped me carry it down to my car and we drove to a donation center across town. But here's the thing. As we were loading it into my car, I looked at the reflection in the center panel. Jenna was stood to my left, but in the mirror, her reflection was to my right, and behind us both, in the reflection, there was something else. A dark figure, tall and thin, stood close enough that it should have been touching us. My head snapped around. Nothing there. "What's wrong?" asks Jenna. I didn't tell her what I'd seen. We donated the mirror and I felt like I could breathe again. And that night, I slept better than I had in weeks. I went to work feeling lighter, more normal. When I got home the next morning, my apartment door was unlocked. I stood in the hallway staring at my doorknob, trying to remember if I'd actually locked it. I always locked it. Always. I pushed the door open very carefully, half expecting to find I'd been robbed. Thankfully, everything was exactly as I'd left it. Except for one thing. In the corner of my room where my full-length mirror hung, just a normal IKEA mirror that I'd had for years, both of the side panels of the trifold mirror were propped up either side of this mirror against the wall. Just the side panels. As if someone had brought them back and left them there intentionally, the IKEA mirror acting as the middle mirror. As soon as I realized what I was looking at, I started walking towards them, and my feet did not stop until both side panels were firmly in the side of my car and I was driving towards the donation center. On arrival, I meet the girl that we passed the mirror to. She says, "That's strange. You passed me a full mirror." She goes to the back and returns with just the centerpiece. "How odd," she says. "I must have returned them to you somehow." I just nodded and left the shop. I considered calling Jenna again, but I didn't want to seem like I was trying to always unravel her in my mysterious paranormal situations. When I got home, my closet door was wide open. I never left my closet door open. Tentatively, I looked inside, and on the shelf where I keep my storage boxes, one had been pulled down, and it was my childhood box. Normally in this box I kept things from my parents' house, old photos, school projects, and I knew at the very bottom, wrapped in tissue paper, was my porcelain doll collection. I'd forgotten I even had them. My aunt gave them to me as a gift when I was small, and I'd freaked out even then. But I'd packed them away years ago, because they freaked me out. 5 dolls in all with blonde hair and painted faces. They all looked vaguely like a younger version of me, which, knowing my aunt and how strange she was, makes perfect sense. What didn't make perfect sense was as I placed everything else back into my childhood box, the dolls were missing. I scoured the closet floor, but no sign of tissue paper, no sign of the dolls. I placed the box back and closed the closet door. That was when I turned around and noticed all 5 dolls were now stood in a circle on my dresser exactly where the mirror had once been. And unless Jenna was playing a joke or I was losing my mind, I had definitely not put them there. I grabbed the box, I grabbed the dolls, and I threw them back in the box. I shoved the box to the back of the shelf and I slammed the closet door. It slid back open. I slammed it again. It opened. I tried to close it a third time and the door came off its track entirely, clattering to the floor. That was 2 months ago. Since then I've moved twice. First to a friend's couch, then to a new apartment across town. Both times within a week, my closet door has broken. Different kinds of doors. The first place had a regular hinged door, the second place a sliding door like my apartment. Didn't matter. They broke within days. And I keep seeing it, the figure, and it's getting bolder. I've seen it in reflections, windows, my phone screen, even in a puddle when I was tying my lace. Always just over my shoulder, always watching. Sometimes I see it directly, standing in corners, just on the edge of my vision. When I look straight at it, it's not quite there, but I can see its outline. Tall, thin, disproportioned, limbs slightly too long. And last week, I woke up with scratches on my arm. 3 parallel lines, like something had dragged claws down my skin as I slept. I've spoken with Jenna, who thinks I should talk to a priest, and I've considered it, but something tells me this is beyond a simple blessing. I've been researching threshold rituals, magic mirrors, portal theory. Everything I find says the same thing. If you open a door like this, closing it requires the person who opened it. But I didn't open it, at least not on purpose. I just bought the damn thing. But last night is the reason I've decided to send you this email now. Because last night, I came home from work to find all of my mirrors covered. Every last one. My bathroom mirror, my hand mirror, even my phone screen on my other phone. All covered with towels, t-shirts, anything I own that could be used as a drape. I don't do that. I live alone. But last night, or should I say the early hours of this morning, as I brushed my teeth before bed, I saw something that just added another element of confusion to my entire experiences. I was brushing my teeth, already anxious due to finding all the mirrors covered, of course, and I was staring at my reflection, thinking about what to do. Then my reflection smiles at me. Not me, my reflection. I wasn't smiling, but in the mirror I was, and my reflection's eyes were completely black. I threw my toothbrush and I ran out of the bedroom, I ran out of my house, and I drove to Jenna's. I'm sending this email from Jenna's, while she very kindly has gone back to my place to pick up a few of my things. I'm scared. Kevin, I'm really scared. I'm scared I'm not just haunted, I'm scared I'm becoming the haunting. It's a strange thing to describe, but even as I type, I feel like I've been marked. I think I got marked the moment I brought that mirror home. And whatever came through that mirror is still here, apparently wearing my face in reflections, waiting for something I don't have, or at the very least don't understand. I just needed someone else to know. Maybe somebody else has encountered this, but I needed someone else to know in case I stop being able to tell the difference. If anyone's experienced anything similar, can you ask them to please reach out? Much hope, Alex. Well, Alex, firstly, thank you so much for your submission. It obviously is our finale. And you guys know I've mentioned how fluid the show can be. Alex's submission came to us only 3 weeks ago. So you can see what I mean when I say, if the right experience comes along, I want to make sure you guys hear it, so I'm not the only one with it rolling around my brain. Myself and Alex, which is a pseudonym by the way, have spoken every other day since their submission. When I first read it, it was the part where Jenna, which I know now is not their real name, walked through this spirit and the hair sort of made out the body image. When I saw that and read that, I thought that would make a great episode. It was only when I continued reading I thought, this is the finale. Alex is aware it's going to be used as the finale, and currently Alex is still living in Jenner's. Now, although we are of course taking our end of season break, if you do have any advice for Alex, feel free to drop me a line at contact@thedarkparanormal.com. I would say I can't imagine what Alex is going through, but I'm starting to build a pretty good picture with our ongoing conversations, and I hope not, genuinely. But we may be hearing more from Alex in our upcoming seasons, I have a suspicion. But fingers crossed that's not the case. Now, before I wrap up, don't forget, the next time you hear my voice, it will be to interview the host of Oscuridad Paranormal, the Spanish version of The Dark Paranormal, and the first ever franchised independent podcast in the world. And believe me, it won't just be a get-to-know-you exercise. Anna has a few things up her sleeve, let me just say that. Now, don't forget, joining our Patreon is a way to both support the show and also get early, ad-free releases to everything on the main feed, and also, during this downtime, access to over 130 hours of Patreon-only episodes that have only been heard by our Patreons in the Dark Bites back catalogue, as well as a brand new episode of Dark Bites each and every week of the year, even during the upcoming downtime where our main feed goes barren for 2 or 3 weeks. And with the impending changes we have planned for our Patreon team for Season 22, now is the best time to become a team member. So click in the show notes for a link to your free week trial, or go direct to patreon.com/thedarkparanormal. And I will speak to you all on the 31st of October. Yes, it's a Friday. Yes, it's Halloween. And therefore, no better time to start Season 22. But until then, remember, whenever you're discussing the paranormal, always try and leave some of your disbelief at the door. And I will see you on Halloween for the start of Season 22 of The Dark Paranormal.